Imagine waking up in the year 1099. The first thing you notice is not the sunlight or the chirping of birds, but the smell, a pungent mixture of smoke, damp, straw, and goats. You reach instinctively for your phone. But of course, there is no phone, no coffee machine humming in the kitchen, no mattress with memory foam that hugs your spine. Instead, you are lying on a bed of straw that scratches your skin, in a hut where the wind whistles through the cracks in the wood. Already you regret this time travel experiment, and the day has not even started. Morning begins with hunger. You shuffle to the table. If you can call a wobbly plank balanced on 2 stools a table, breakfast is not cereal, not toast, not even tea. It is bread, hard and stale, so tough you wonder if your teeth will survive the ordeal. If you are lucky, there is a thin onion soup to soften the edges. If not, well, chew harder. Hygiene is another adventure. Forget your morning shower. Bathing is an annual event, celebrated like a festival. Soap is a luxury item, imported and expensive, so most people simply do not bother. Everyone smells like a blend of sweat, horse, and despair. You, too, will soon join the chorus of odors, and should you fall ill, the local doctor is more terrifying than the disease. A headache might be treated with bloodletting, using a knife that looks like it has been through 3 wars already. A stomachache might earn you a concoction of herbs, prayers, and a stern warning about demons. Congratulations, you are now worse than before. Your home is not a castle. Castles are for lords and knights. You live in a hut, built from wood and mud, with a roof that leaks whenever it rains. Privacy is a foreign concept. You, your family, and perhaps a chicken or 2 all share the same room. The chicken, by the way, is probably warmer than you are. At night, you lie down on your straw bed, itchy from fleas. The sound of rats scurrying across the floor is your lullaby. The walls creak, the wind howls, and you pull a thin wool blanket over yourself, praying it keeps out the cold. Spoiler, it does not. Food is not a pleasure, it is survival. Meat is rare, reserved for festivals of the wealthy. Most days you eat porridge, bread, and maybe some onions. If you are lucky, you will gnaw on a bone with more splinters than flavor. Spices are treasures from faraway lands, worth more than gold. Your food tastes like sadness, boiled sadness. And yet, you eat it gratefully, because hunger is worse. Water is not always safe, so ale or weak beer is the drink of choice even for children. It is not about fun, it is about survival. And so you sip your sour ale, chew your stale bread, and dream of pizza. If you are a man of fighting age, congratulations, you are probably going to war. You are handed a sword heavier than anything you have ever lifted at the gym. Armor is strapped onto you, turning your body into a medieval oven. You sweat buckets before the battle even begins. The battlefield is chaos. Horses charge, arrows fly, and the clash of steel rings in your ears. You swing your sword, but it feels like you are moving through water. Your arms itchy, your legs tremble, and you wonder how anyone survives this madness. And if you do survive, you are rewarded with disease, dysentery, plague, or a festering wound that refuses to heal. Victory tastes less like glory and more like fever. Life in the Crusades is ruled by faith and fear. Every strange noise at night is blamed on demons. Every illness is seen as God's punishment. The church is the center of life, and priests hold more power than kings. Superstition runs wild. A relic of bone, a scrap of cloth, a vial of holy water is your insurance policy against disaster. Forget science. It has not been invented yet. If your crops fail, you pray harder. If your child falls ill, you pray harder still. And if nothing changes, you assume God is testing you. It is a world where faith is both comfort and cage, where hope is tied not to medicine or progress, but to miracles. When the sun sets, the world turns dark. Not the cozy darkness of your bedroom, with a nightlight glowing softly in the corner. No, this is pitch black darkness, broken only by the flicker of a candle or the glow of the moon. Candles are expensive, so most people simply go to bed when the sun goes down. The night is filled with sounds: the howl of wolves, the creak of wood, the whisper of the wind. Every shadow feels alive. You curl up on your straw bed, itchy from fleas, shivering under your thin blanket. You pray you do not wake up with the plague. Sleep comes slowly, heavy and uncertain. So, would you last a day in the age of the Crusades? Probably not. Between the stale bread, the drafty huts, the endless superstition, and the constant threat of disease, you would be begging for your Wi-Fi password before noon. But do not worry, your soft pillow, hot shower, and morning coffee are waiting for you. Sweet dreams. Your home in the age of the Crusades is not the stone fortress you might picture from movies, with banners fluttering in the wind and roaring fireplaces in every hall. No, that belongs to lords and knights. You, an ordinary soul, live in something far humbler, a hut of wood and mud, patched together with whatever scraps the village could spare. The roof is thatched, which sounds quaint until the rain begins to fall. Then the leaks appear, dripping steadily onto your bed of straw, soaking through the thin wool blanket you cling to for warmth. The walls are thin, and the wind whistles through the cracks, carrying with it the smell of smoke from the hearth and the ever-present odor of livestock. Privacy is a luxury you have never known. You, your family, and perhaps a chicken or two all share the same single room. The chicken, by the way, is probably warmer than you are, nestled in its feathers while you shiver in the draft. At night, you lie down on your straw mattress, which is less a mattress and more a pile of itchy stalks that poke through the cloth and scratch your skin. Fleas and lice are your constant companions, and you scratch at your arms and legs until sleep finally drags you under. The sound of rats scurrying across the floor is your lullaby, their tiny claws tapping against the wood as they search for crumbs. Sometimes you hear the creak of the walls, sometimes the howl of the wind, and sometimes the distant bark of a dog warning of strangers on the road. You pull the blanket tighter, though it does little to keep out the cold, and you pray that the night passes quickly. In the morning, the fire in the hearth has long since died, and the room is colder than the air outside. Your eyes stiff and sore, your back aching from the uneven straw, your breath visible in the chill. The hut is not a home in the way you understand the word today. It is shelter, nothing more, a fragile barrier between you and the elements. And yet, in this world, it is all you have. Food in the age of the Crusades is not the comforting ritual you know today, with steaming plates, fragrant spices, and the luxury of choice. It is survival, plain and simple, and survival rarely tastes good. You sit down at the table. Though calling it a table is generous, it is more a plank of wood balanced on uneven legs, wobbling with every touch. Before you lies a bowl of porridge, gray and lumpy, made from grains boiled in water until they surrender into a paste. There is bread, too, but it is hard and stale, the kind that cracks rather than bends, and you must soak it in the porridge just to chew it without breaking a tooth. Meat is a dream, a rare guest at the table, reserved for festivals or the wealthy. On ordinary days you might gnaw on a bone, stripped of most of its flesh, more splinter than substance. If you are lucky, there is a scrap of salted pork or a sliver of dried fish, but the salt burns your tongue and leaves you thirstier than before. Spices, those treasures from faraway lands, are beyond your reach. They are worth more than gold, traded across deserts and seas, and only the rich can afford them. Your food tastes of nothing but itself, plain and heavy, boiled sadness on a wooden spoon. And yet you eat it gratefully, because hunger is worse. Water, the simplest of drinks, is not to be trusted. Wells are shallow, streams are dirty, and sickness lurks in every sip. So you drink ale. We console are brewed in every household, not for pleasure, but for safety. Even children drink it, their small hands clutching wooden cups, their lips puckering at the bitter taste. It is not about joy, it is about survival. You sip, grimace, and swallow, knowing it is better than the fever that comes from water. The rhythm of meals is not about appetite, but about what is available. In summer, you eat what the fields provisions, beans, cabbages, and whatever can be pulled from the earth. In winter, you gnaw on dried roots, salted scraps, and whatever has not spoiled in the cellar. Hunger is a constant companion, a dull ache in your belly that never quite leaves. You dream of sweetness, of fruit, of honey, but such luxuries are rare. A single apple might be shared among many, sliced thin so that everyone tastes a sliver. At the Lord's table, things are different. There are roasts and pies, spices and sauces, servants carrying platters heavy with food. But you are not at the Lord's table. You are in your hut, with your bowl of porridge, your stale bread, and your sour ale. You chew slowly, not because you savor it, but because you must make it last. And as you eat, you wonder how anyone in this world ever had the energy to march to war, to build castles, to cross deserts in the name of faith. Perhaps hunger itself was the greatest battle of all. If you are a man of fighting age, in the time of the Crusades, your life is not your own. One morning you may be called to march, to take up arms in the name of faith or lordship, and there is little choice in the matter. A sword is placed in your hands, heavier than anything you have ever lifted, its weight dragging at your arms until your shoulders ache. Armor is strapped onto you, layer by layer, until you feel less like a warrior and more like a prisoner inside a metal shell. The sun beats down, and within minutes you are drenched in sweat, your body turning into a furnace. The air is thick, your breath shallow, and the battle has not even begun. When the fighting starts, the world becomes chaos. Horses thunder across the field, their hooves shaking the ground beneath your feet. Arrows whistle through the air, some striking shields, others finding flesh. The clash of steel is deafening, a constant ringing that drowns out thought. You swing your sword, but it feels as though you are moving through water, every motion slow and heavy. Your arms tremble, your grip slips, and you wonder how long you can last before exhaustion claims you. Around you, men shout prayers, curses, and cries of pain. The smell of sweat, blood, and dust fills your nose, and you long for the quiet of your hut, even with its fleas and rats. If fortune favors you, and you survive the clash, your reward is not peace, but sickness. The wounds you carry are treated with little more than cloth and hope. Infection sets in quickly, turning scratches into fevers, and fevers into death. Dysentery spreads through the camps, leaving men too weak to stand. The plague lurks in the shadows, striking without warning. Victory, when it comes, tastes less like glory and more like exhaustion. A hollow triumph that leaves you wondering if the suffering was worth it. And yet, this is the rhythm of life. To fight is to serve. To serve is to survive. And survival itself is uncertain. You lie down at night with your sword beside you, your body aching, your mind haunted by the sounds of battle. Sleep comes slowly, heavy with fear, and you know that tomorrow may bring another call to arms. Life in the age of the Crusades is ruled not by reason but by faith and fear, woven so tightly together that they shape every breath you take. The church is not just a place you visit on Sundays. It is the center of your world, the authority that explains the unexplainable and dictates the rhythm of your days. Every illness, every storm, every poor harvest is seen as a message from God, a punishment or a test. If your child falls sick, you do not think of medicine, for medicine, as you know it, does not exist. Instead, you kneel, you pray, and you hope that divine mercy will intervene. The priest's words carry more weight than the Lord's commands, and his blessing is sought for everything from planting seeds to marching into battle. Superstition fills the gaps where faith leaves questions unanswered. A strange noise at night is not the wind, but demons lurking in the shadows. A sudden fever is not infection, but the devil's hand. To protect yourself, you cling to relics, bones of saints, scraps of cloth said to have touched holy men, vials of water claimed to be blessed. These objects are your insurance policies, charms against the unknown. And though they may be nothing more than fragments, they are treasured as shields against despair. The calendar is marked not by seasons alone, but by holy days and festivals. each one a reminder that your life is bound to the church. Bells ring to summon you, chants echo through the air, and incense drifts in smoky clouds, filling the stone halls with a heavy sweetness. You bow your head, not daring to question. For doubt itself feels dangerous. To doubt is to risk your soul. And in a world where death is always near, the soul, when the darkness presses close and wolves howl in the distance, fear sharpens. You whisper prayers before sleep, tracing the sign of the cross, clutching a charm or relic if you have one. You hope it will keep the demons away, or at least keep your dreams free of their claws. Faith is comfort, but it is also a cage, holding you in place, binding you to rituals and fears that leave little room for questioning. And so you live, suspended between hope and dread, convinced that every step you take is watched by unseen eyes. Every misfortune a lesson, every blessing a miracle. Candles exist, but they are costly, made from tallow or beeswax, and most families cannot afford to burn them freely. A single stub might be saved for special occasions, its flame guarded carefully against drafts. For the rest of the time, the rhythm of life bends to the sun. When it sets, so do you. Families gather close, whispering prayers, telling stories, or simply lying down in the dark, waiting for sleep. The hut is filled with the sound of breathing, the occasional cough, the restless shifting of bodies on straw. Fleas bite, lice crawl, and you scratch at your skin, trying to ignore the itch. The night is long, and fear lingers in every corner. Shadows stretch across the walls, and your imagination fills them with demons, thieves, or worse. A knock at the door after sunset is enough to send shivers down your spine, for no good news ever comes in the dark. You pull the blanket over your head, though it is thin and full of holes, and whisper a prayer that morning will come quickly. Sleep is not peaceful but heavy, broken by dreams of wolves, of battles, of sickness. You wake often, heart-pounding, listening to the silence, wondering if the noises you heard were real or only in your mind. And yet, somehow, the night the first pale light of dawn creeps through the cracks in the wall, and you breathe easier. You survived another night in a world where darkness is not just the absence of light, but a presence of its own, filled with hunger, fear, and uncertainty. You rise stiff and tired, brush the straw from your clothes, and prepare to face another day, already longing for the comforts of a world centuries away.